Hello, I'm Jon Binnie. I'm here in our Giotti line 330 Sienna, and it is a 2023 model. We've had it for just a week, and I've been busy doing some upgrades that I'd like to share with you today about how to run your whole motorhome off grid relatively simply. I'm not saying it's necessarily the cheapest way, but it was definitely the cheapest way for us at the time. And so to give a little bit of context, in this beautiful motorhome, this is a 4-berth. It has a bed above me, the area down below me, also, I don't know if I can angle the camera down, the area down here as well also converts into a bed. And then just behind me, if I switch you around, you can also see the fixed double bed. Okay, switching around again. And we do a mix of campsites and off-grid camping where we don't have access to mains power. And we do have quite a few different devices that we like to run off mains power. That includes a Hoover, so a vacuum cleaner, an air fryer, laptop charging sometimes, although you can run those off 12 volt. And I also do some of my work, which requires some, I do a lot of online work, and it requires like extra lighting and video conferencing setup. So that is also another reason why we tend to use mains power when we're off grid. So normally, the way this works is, just behind me down here on the outside, there's a mains cable. Now in the US, it's often called shore power, and I think that's a term used from boating, from yachts, etc., where they would come up to the harbour or the kind of pontoon area, and they would connect into the power upon the shore. So we in the UK, we call it the mains power or mains hookup. And that's fantastic. And we still use that when we're in campsites, etc., especially where the campsite has the price of electricity included. So we were at a place last night, Haggerston Castle in the north east of England. And you had to pay, it was only about £17 for the night, which was maybe because our motorhome's under 6 meters and we booked just in a week's notice. I keep forgetting that I can put you down and still talk to you. So we already have I'll show you all this in a second. We already have a power bank that we wanted to use for mains power. And there's lots of different power banks out there. This video is not sponsored by any manufacturer. And we already had an Ecoflow Delta Max, which is something like around 2000 watts, or it does go higher for certain devices. So that's pretty good. 2000 watts will, do most things. It won't quite reach up to a standard house kettle, but you can get like a camping kettle at around 1000 or 1500 watts. Air fryers, induction hobs, these things we also use around 1000, 1500 watts, depending on the settings you use them at. So let me show you under the bed. So we don't have a garage, a separate garage. It's all under here. So let me lift this up. This will be interesting with one hand. Okay, there we go. Lift it up. So let me show you down here. And so this is the power bank down here, and this grey thing. This big grey box, I don't know if I can show you down here. This is the Ecoflow. You can just, I don't know if I can just show you can't quite show you the display on it. So that's always there. I've actually strapped it down, as you can see. There's big straps on it, and you can charge it from mains power or from the 12 volt supplies, such as when you're driving, or in my case, this big battery down here, on just in the middle there of the screen, this is an EcoWorthy 280 amp hour battery. And it was, the time I bought it was around 300, this thing here was around £350. So simply what I've done is, if I can show you here without standing on the wrong bits and pieces. Okay, so here, these three boxes are all interesting. So this, as it turns out, it actually has a little warning sign. It says, warning, 230 volts. So this little box here is where all of the mains power comes in. And so when you're hooked up to the mains, mains power, what happens is you end up doing a circuit, complete a circuit, and it goes right across the whole van. You then, if you want to, what I did is I basically intercepted that video. I'm doing a video. I intercepted that power. So I took one of the leads out of here, and it comes from, I can't really show you on camera here, but it comes from a little mains hookup in there. So the power comes in through the back of here, actually comes under these little vents here, comes into here, and I split it out. And so this socket is now directly connected to the mains input from the outside of the van. So mains power comes from the outside of the van into this socket. And so normally, if you're on mains hookup, I just completed this circuit by adding, this is a heavy duty plug, so it's still 13 amps, and then a 16 amp cable, just because it is a 16 amp input. And I just wanted to, I didn't want to use the 16 amp connectors, but I wanted to go as high as I could with everything else. Okay. And so at the moment, I'm not actually on mains power, right? So if I turn this on, if I turn the switch on, I'm not going to get any power to the rest of the van. So what I did was I connected this. This is a really simple circuit. So this is just a double socket mains power, and you can just see down here, there's a little blue cable, and it runs down the back of there, and it runs round the back of this, the lithium battery, and it goes into the back of the Ecoflow. So when I go into the app and I turn on the Ecoflow power, I AC out, mains power comes out of the Ecoflow, and it comes all the way through this wire and comes into here. So the cool thing is, I can just go in here, plug this in, switch the power on, and now I can, let me flip you around. It suddenly got very hot. I think this heater, the Truma heater we have, is very hot. I don't know if this will show up on camera, but what I'm going to do is just flash up the app anyway. So this is the Ecoflow mobile app. And what I'm going to do is just turn on AC. And so I click that little button for AC, so that turns the output of the Ecoflow on. And what I should start to see is main stuff working. So to test this, we have the fridge here. So I can turn this on. I can turn it on like this. And it's an automatic fridge, so it runs off gas or 12 volt when you're driving, or in this case, mains power. So now it thinks I've fooled the whole van, in the whole motorhome, into believing that it's running off mains power. So that the fridge will now run off of mains power. And if you're interested, if you're running that fridge, the Thetford fridge, off of mains from cold, that doesn't really make sense for a fridge, from just startup, it's currently using 268 watts, which is quite a lot, but it'll run like that. Our Ecoflow says that it'll run the fridge for 7 hours. It'll run it a lot longer than that. That's just the current estimate based on the current power usage. So I'm just going to turn the fridge off because we don't need to, well, I don't need it. Okay. And I also have, just in case you don't believe me, And even though we're in our driveway. Oh, I lost you. Hello, I'm just here. Let me try and get the camera to come back around and see me. I'm here, guys. There we go. It should track my face. Can you see me? Try again. There we go. Okay. So I'm just going to plug in here now. Just be careful because this is a main socket and it is live. And it should go very noisy and I can start hoovering with my mains hoover. And I can hoover with it. So you get the idea, right? So we can also use our air fryer and all these things. How long can we use these things? Well, previously to this we had a camper van, and I would say for the smaller Ecoflow Delta, we could run, probably in a day you could boil the kettle about 5 times off of the mains power. Yeah, boiling the kettle's really handy, right? We could, the mains power off the Ecoflow, so we do that about 5 times plus, that's a litre, so about 5 litres of boiled water, plus some, toasting or using a microwave. We also have a microwave that we bring out. So these are all things that you can just use when you're out and about. This is we've just come back from camping. This is my kind of Sunday morning routine of going in and just like cleaning everything up. And last thing I do is hoover. And so it's really good to just be able to set everything up to off-grid mode and hoover. Okay, and then finally, the other thing I wanted to show you was I have you might have noticed just to the left in the video, I won't show you again, you can rewind it if you want, in the left of the video, I had something called a Victron Battery Protect. And this thing here is the app for it. And really simply, it just tells you the voltage. And then there's a little switch for turning it on and off. So if I turn on, which it currently is, the Battery Protect, what I can see in the app for my big lithium battery, the 280 amp hour lithium battery, is that it'll take a charge, so the Ecoflow will take a charge from the Ecoflow. Sorry, it'll charge the Ecoflow. And that's just the app there, just showing you it'll do about 300 watts. So the good thing, a good reason for doing that is what it does is allows you to just gradually, 300 watts is still a lot, and I've done that through using 2 of the quite cheap 10 to 15 pound car charging cables. So it's like it just takes a normal, I think it's something like, is it M2 or something, which is the size of the little ring connector. So you can put that directly onto most batteries, 12 volt batteries. And I have 2 of those cables connected into the input of the Ecoflow. So if you imagine normal usage during a day, if you're hoovering, using your air fryer, boiling a kettle, these things use a lot of power at around, there could be 500 or 1,000 watts. And then gradually through the day, between the solar, we have 100 watt solar, I think it's around 100 or 80 or 100 on the roof. And also when we're driving, or if we connect it to mains hookup, this will charge the big battery, the lithium battery, the 280 amp hour lithium battery, and it'll gradually, kind of a lazy charging of the Ecoflow at about 300 watts. And with that setup, it's quite hard to run out of power. Now, I say that in the winter, if you're not driving and you don't have much solar, or almost no solar in Scotland, then you're going to run out of power eventually, right? And in fact, there's quite a lot of capacity to charge back up. I don't know how many hours driving it would be from scratch. Something like to charge the Ecoflow could be as much as 4 or 5 hours. But we tend to, we're kind of weekend warriors, right? So we'll do weekend camping, and then often during the week, the solar or just driving around locally will help recharge the batteries. So yeah, I hope you find that helpful. I wanted to share this video, even though it's not the final setup, is because I'm a geek and I love doing these things and I love the convenience. And also because I wanted to share it before I add any more complexity, because it's not going to get any simpler, the setup, right? And I wanted to share it as quickly as I could. All right, thank you so much. I hope you find this interesting. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. Thank you so much. Sending love.